Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome to ERM's webinar on the Taiwan Medical Devices Act. My name is Mary Ann Sanders, and I'm the Technical Director in Product Stewardship at North America in ERM. And we felt that this was a very timely topic that many of our clients would be interested in. So we're glad to see you here joining us. And just for your information, this session will be recorded for future use. So a few of the house rules we have. One of the things we recommend is that you truly actively participate in the process. You can post your questions and answers in the question and answer post, or at the end, we will open those up for discussion as well. We have enabled the English transcript feature in this webinar. So if you'd like to use that, you can simply click the live transcript button at the bottom of your screen and indicate that you want to show the subtitles. If you have any questions or thoughts, we encourage you to share that feedback in the short survey at the end of the webinar. So as I said, my name is Mary Ann Sanders. I'm a Technical Director in Product Stewardship here in North America, and I'm very pleased to introduce our presenter for today. His name is Roland Liu. Sorry, Roland. He is a consultant in our Taiwan jurisdiction, and he's going to be speaking to you on the Medical Devices Act in Taiwan, as he is a subject matter expert. So today we'll be talking you had the little introduction to ERM through our video, and then we'll talk a little bit about just the regulatory updates associated with the Taiwan Medical Devices Act, provide you a case study so you can understand some of the challenges and the solutions that ERM facilitated. And then we will open the floor up to challenges and solutions. So you can see we're going to do a quick poll here before we get started. And we'd like to know, what's the biggest challenge for you? If you can please select one or more of the above to really support that information. Give it just a few minutes. All right, so as you can see, we're really spread out across all those challenges that we potentially identified. And specifically, all of the above was also a big sticking point. So we hope to answer some of these questions. And for those of you that indicated others, we'd love to hear that information at the end of the presentation. So at ERM, we really do feel that sustainability is critical to the world. And we are the largest pure play sustainability consultancy in the world. We partner with organizations throughout the world, helping to create some of those solutions to those challenges that they may have, and unlocking the commercial opportunities that result from managing these sustainability challenges. And that helps us meet today's needs while preserving opportunity and the world for future generations. Together, we're really helping to leading organizations to shape that world. We have a very diverse team of global experts, over 7,000 people in 40 different jurisdictions. We are very proud to say that our capabilities cover boots to boardroom, both up to down and down to up. And that approach allows for a comprehensive model that allows us to develop those strategic and technical solutions that advance companies' objectives. Next slide. So how do we face that market? As you can see within this slide, product stewardship is only one of the many services that ERM provides, and none of these services are really their own box. We really interact because product stewardship can enhance operational performances. Digital services can help with product stewardship, mergers and acquisitions, capital product delivery. All these things really interact, and we're very proud to have many members of our product stewardship team, both from the United States and the Asia Pacific region, on this call to talk to you a little bit more on how we help clients bring their products to market safely, sustainably, and in compliance with regulations and customer obligations. And that in a way also helps us meet their business goals and satisfy key stakeholders' expectations. So what is product stewardship? Product stewardship really encompasses all types of work surrounding the product lifecycle, from initial design through material sourcing, the actual manufacturing of the products, through transportation, end use, and the end of life process, really focusing more on circularity rather than straight line, because we feel that those life cycle assessments, that ability to really impact sustainable services and sustainable supply chain are really important moving forward. And I'm not going to list all these or read all these, but you can see all the various services that we do provide in each of these departments. So now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Roland, who again, as I said, is one of our subject matter experts on the Taiwan Medical Device Act. And I hope you enjoy his talk. Roland, all yours.
Yeah, thanks for introduction, Marian. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to join the webinar. My name is Roland Liu, and I am based in Taiwan. Today, I'm going to share about the Medical Device Act implementation in Taiwan. Allow me to introduce myself briefly. I have a background in pharmacy with over 8 years in medical device and pharma. I have worked for ADMU, it's a domestic vaccine manufacturer in Taiwan, then GE Healthcare and SHL Medical as a regulatory expert for medical device regulatory framework and familiar with the quality assurance.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening. Welcome to ERM's webinar on the Taiwan Medical Devices Act. My name is Mary Ann Sanders, and I'm the Technical Director in Product Stewardship at North America in ERM. And we felt that this was a very timely topic that many of our clients would be interested in. So we're glad to see you here joining us. And just for your information, this session will be recorded for future use. So a few of the house rules we have. One of the things we recommend is that you truly actively participate in the process. You can post your questions and answers in the question and answer post, or at the end, we will open those up for discussion as well. We have enabled the English transcript feature in this webinar. So if you'd like to use that, you can simply click the live transcript button at the bottom of your screen and indicate that you want to show the subtitles. If you have any questions or thoughts, we encourage you to share that feedback in the short survey at the end of the webinar. So as I said, my name is Mary Ann Sanders. I'm a Technical Director in Product Stewardship here in North America, and I'm very pleased to introduce our presenter for today. His name is Roland Liu. Sorry, Roland. He is a consultant in our Taiwan jurisdiction, and he's going to be speaking to you on the Medical Devices Act in Taiwan, as he is a subject matter expert. So today we'll be talking you had the little introduction to ERM through our video, and then we'll talk a little bit about just the regulatory updates associated with the Taiwan Medical Devices Act, provide you a case study so you can understand some of the challenges and the solutions that ERM facilitated. And then we will open the floor up to challenges and solutions. So you can see we're going to do a quick poll here before we get started. And we'd like to know, what's the biggest challenge for you? If you can please select one or more of the above to really support that information. Give it just a few minutes. All right, so as you can see, we're really spread out across all those challenges that we potentially identified. And specifically, all of the above was also a big sticking point. So we hope to answer some of these questions. And for those of you that indicated others, we'd love to hear that information at the end of the presentation. So at ERM, we really do feel that sustainability is critical to the world. And we are the largest pure play sustainability consultancy in the world. We partner with organizations throughout the world, helping to create some of those solutions to those challenges that they may have, and unlocking the commercial opportunities that result from managing these sustainability challenges. And that helps us meet today's needs while preserving opportunity and the world for future generations. Together, we're really helping to leading organizations to shape that world. We have a very diverse team of global experts, over 7,000 people in 40 different jurisdictions. We are very proud to say that our capabilities cover boots to boardroom, both up to down and down to up. And that approach allows for a comprehensive model that allows us to develop those strategic and technical solutions that advance companies' objectives. Next slide. So how do we face that market? As you can see within this slide, product stewardship is only one of the many services that ERM provides, and none of these services are really their own box. We really interact because product stewardship can enhance operational performances. Digital services can help with product stewardship, mergers and acquisitions, capital product delivery. All these things really interact, and we're very proud to have many members of our product stewardship team, both from the United States and the Asia Pacific region, on this call to talk to you a little bit more on how we help clients bring their products to market safely, sustainably, and in compliance with regulations and customer obligations. And that in a way also helps us meet their business goals and satisfy key stakeholders' expectations. So what is product stewardship? Product stewardship really encompasses all types of work surrounding the product lifecycle, from initial design through material sourcing, the actual manufacturing of the products, through transportation, end use, and the end of life process, really focusing more on circularity rather than straight line, because we feel that those life cycle assessments, that ability to really impact sustainable services and sustainable supply chain are really important moving forward. And I'm not going to list all these or read all these, but you can see all the various services that we do provide in each of these departments. So now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Roland, who again, as I said, is one of our subject matter experts on the Taiwan Medical Device Act. And I hope you enjoy his talk. Roland, all yours.
Yeah, thanks for introduction, Marian. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to join the webinar. My name is Roland Liu, and I am based in Yarn, Taiwan. Today, I'm going to share about the Medical Device Act implementation in Taiwan. Allow me to introduce myself briefly. I have a background in pharmacy with over 8 years in medical device and pharma. I have worked for Admin, it's a domestic vaccine manufacturer in Taiwan, then GE Healthcare and SHL Medical as a regulatory expert for medical device regulatory framework and familiar with the quality assurance. The presentation is separated into 2 sections. I will speak about the medical device market overview in Taiwan, the regulatory framework for medical devices, the revolution after the Medical Device Act, and how it affects the current workflow and process. In the second section, I will share some examples of case study, and there will be a question and answer session at the end of this presentation. Please feel free to note down your questions and I will be happy to answer them later. As of today, Taiwan's population stands at 23.5 million and is currently facing an aging population. Over 70% of the total population is aged 65 years and above, and it is projected to increase up to 40% by 2060. The same situation is happening in Europe, or even worse. The aging society creates a high demand for healthcare. And of course, people are becoming more health conscious as well. This causes an increase in medical costs, which also increases the demand for medical products. Taiwan's government is tackling the problem by promoting biotechnological growth and adapting to digitalization of healthcare. Many companies are proactively developing new medical devices, which lead to an increase in production value year by year. And in this case, the pandemic is a catalyst that speeds up the process. In 2020, the medical device production value reached 3.3 billion USD, which is the highest production value ever recorded, with a steady average annual growth of 8.3% in the past 10 years. As you can see, the demand for medical devices in Taiwan is high, and it is projected to go higher. Previously, regulations for medical devices are placed under the Pharmaceutical Affairs Act, but in 2021, the Medical Device Act was formed, and it was separated from the Pharmaceutical Affairs Act. This caused a major shift in the healthcare regulatory environment. So what's the difference between the regulatory requirement and the categorization of medical device between the US, EU, and Taiwan? Here's a table to show the different types of quality system classification and registration approach for medical device. The registration process of medical device in Taiwan is regulated by Taiwan Food and Drug Administration, TFDA in short, under the Ministry of Health and Welfare. TFDA regulates medical devices in 70 categories, and they are classified based on their risks. TFDA also adopts its own good manufacturing practice, GMP, for quality system, which is harmonized with ISO 13485. Like regulators in many other Asian countries, TFDA requires also a local qualified distributor to act as the applicant for quality system review and product registration if the manufacturers don't have a local representative office in Taiwan. Foreign registrant must ensure that their Taiwan agents are legally established in Taiwan and that they hold medical device sales license certifications. For the US, medical devices are classified into Class 1, 2, and 3. Regulatory control increased from Class 1 to Class 3. The device classification regulation defines the regulatory requirement for general device type. Most Class 1 devices are exempt from 510K pre-market notification. Most Class 2 devices require pre-market notification, 510K, and most Class 3 devices require pre-market approval. Now let's talk about the regulatory framework for medical device. The whole picture of the regulatory framework of the medical device includes law, regulation, and administrative guidance. Law and regulation are legally enforceable, while the administration guidance act as a standard or a rule to ease the registration process. Since the separation of the Medical Device Act from the Pharmaceutical Affairs Act in 2021, it is now also considered a Supreme Court law along with the Medical Care Act 1986. The Medical Device Act is established based on the life cycle of the medical device. And here on the second level, the regulation for Medical Device Act include management of medical devices, quality management, and good distribution. Examples are quality management system for medical devices, QMS, good distribution of practice for medical devices, establishment and management for the data of the source and the whereabouts the medical devices, etc. On the third level, administration guidance is issued by delegate government agents there are also rules applied to different government agencies internally, which are called directions. The guidance is also like a manual for business operator to comply with the administrative regulations, including the approval standard or testing standard, operating guideline, or applicant instruction. Some examples of administrative guidance are validation guideline for software of medical device, clinical test benchmark of electronic blood pressure monitor, or reference guideline for medical software classification, etc. So what's new to the Medical Device Act? The new act can be identified into three parts. The policies implemented are directed to the pre-market, post-market, as well as requirements for stakeholders. It is important to know that Taiwan Food and Drug Administrative is responsible to announce the detail and execution plan of the registration involved, and it is after the announcement of the regulation. Therefore, a delay in time is expected. And there are also new regulations added in the Medical Device Act that covers the scope of medical device design and maintenance. The stakeholders involved are the manufacturers, importers, and maintainers. So as you can see from the slide, the implementation time, TFDA will provide a buffer period for the implementation dates of each regulation. Fortunately, there's a buffer period before the day of implementation for each policy. The announcement for the buffer period is also different among the policies. For example, the buffer period for management of medical device technicians is 3 years, which was announced in the initial announcement. For the goods distribution practice for medical devices, as you can find in the slide, the buffer time is 2 years, which was announced separately in legal order. So let's talk about the first topic, is the tracking management. The Medical Device Act emphasizes keep good track of the source and whereabouts of medical devices. In practice, we use unique device identification, UDI. The unique device identification refers to the specific identification of medical devices that are licensed and launched in Taiwan market. The information in UDI includes visible and identifiable labels such as number or alphanumeric labels of automatic identification technology such as barcodes, management platform, etc. The purpose of using UDI is to identify medical devices on the market quickly and reduce misuse by healthcare professionals. 2, quickly obtain product information related to adverse event notification of the medical device on market. 3, ensure the format of the date on the label for medical devices is a standard format to avoid confusion for the user. The specific identifier on the product or individual packaging can be marked on the smallest packaging unit. UDI comprises of device identifier and production identifier. The device identifier of the medical device is the face information of the product, which is to identify the code of the manufacturer, model, version, etc. It's a mix of the number or alphanumeric that is unique to the medical device, and it must be uploaded to the official system, Taiwan UDI database. The production identifier is a changeable information according to production. For example, batch number, serial number, date of manufacture, and shelf life. The production identifier is also a string of numbers or alphanumeric. Next, please. Now let's talk about the distribution management. A good distribution practice has been implemented for a long time for pharmaceutical products in Taiwan. According to the announcement of the TFDA, manufacturers, agents, distributors, and license holders of these are 45 categories of medical devices that are handling high-risk medical devices. However, except for N3030, single for multiple metal bone fixation, other devices and accessories are classified as Class 3. The categories mentioned above need to have a good distribution practice, a good distribution system. And to keep this effective, the process will be inspected by TFDA, and a certificate of good distribution practice will be issued if the inspection is approved. The GDP certificate will be valid for 3 years. If you would like to import Class 3 medical devices to Taiwan, please take note of the requirements for quality manual, procedures, documents, record, etc., as well as your GDP agreement with Taiwan distributor to ensure complying with the regulatory requirement that will be effective on May 1st, 2023. The purpose of making GDP mandatory is to store and transport the environment. This ensures the product quality is stable during the storage and transportation stage, and therefore, the key required document for GDP application is the quality agreement. TFDA reviewer will be emphasizing whether the rights, obligations, and responsibility of both parties are clearly specified. Here you can find the topic 3 is about the low-risk medical device listing. In the past years, the registration for medical device license is mandatory for Class 1, 2, and 3 under the Pharmaceutical Affairs Act. The Class 1 medical device is low-risk medical device, and the license for a Class 1 medical device is issued after a statement is provided by the supplier. This step is like the management approach of the United States, Australia, Singapore, etc. It is to establish the listing management for low-risk medical device. Therefore, the pre-market management is simplified based on the class of medical devices. In the new act, Class 1 items should be listed if manufactured and imported. There are 68 items announced by TFDA that are referred to identify medical devices item to be issued sale permits via listing. The information required for listing includes product name in Chinese and English name of the medical device supplier, name and address of the manufacturer, name and code of medical device category, sterilization requirement for medical device, and the manufacturer compliance standard of the medical device quality management system. You might be aware now the online listing is different from physical registration. Moreover, there will be no license transfer. So let's brief summarize the topic we have mentioned. Here's a simplified flowchart of how the application process works. Companies or other business entity wishing to manufacture or import medical devices will need to apply a business permit license first from the competent health authorities for approval and registration. Additionally, the TFDA requires an applicant to have a quality system documentation, QSD certification, prior to registration. For many devices, foreign manufacturers should demonstrate their compliance with good manufacturing practice, GMP requirement, in particular, should demonstrate compliance with ISO 13485. And I have used a star to mark the key license certificate you need to focus on. If you are located outside of Taiwan, you must appoint a Taiwan agent to manage your device registration. Now, here we can find the differences after the Medical Device Act implementation. First of all, some of the Class 1 medical devices can be listed in the online system here. And the next one is some part of Class 3 medical devices needs to apply for the GDP with the QSD, and you can have the license granting here. Next, please. The quality system documentation review is a precondition to preparing for the product registration process. The manufacturer of Class 2 and 3 medical products should consider at the very beginning of the preparation for the product registration. For foreign manufacturer, in addition to the options of the on-site inspection and full QSD review, the FDA provides two additional pathways to simplify the review process. First is the abbreviation mode for US factory complying with ISO 13485. For manufacturers located in the US and certified to ISO 13485, the applicants can provide a valid ISO 13485 certificate, Establishment Inspection Report, EIR, or NDSAP, and the certificate to foreign government issued by the US FDA to apply under this abbreviation mode. Two is the abbreviation mode for EU factories. For manufacturers located in EU regions, UK is not being included since Brexit, that have ISO 13485 certificates issued by one of the several TFDA recognized notified body based on the current technical cooperation program. 3. Notice. TCP stands for Technical Cooperation Program. It was initiated to reduce duplicate audit and thus reduce time and cost through the exchange of audit report. There are 4 TFDA designation auditing organizations to perform GMP inspection and quality system documentation review, and with 6 recognized EU notified body as the listed attached to be included in TCP3. Applicants can provide their manufacturer's ISO 13485 certificate, inspection report, and certificate of free sale to apply. Under this simplified mode, upon approval, the manufacturer will receive a QSD approval letter valid for 3 years. So let's jump into the topic 2. Here we will share the case study and with challenging and solutions. There are 3 major considerations of regulatory impacts. The first one is strategy. Strategy is the first stage of product development, which is to set up a product launch plan. For example, to analyze what is the possible approach, what are the similar or predicate, and which way will be more economical for the product's sustainability. Strategy way and points to approach the authority or an action plan when we receive comments from the competent authority. Therefore, speaking to authority with scientific evidence and rationale is a basic skill we need. The biggest impact will be communication. The key point that will affect communication between the applicant and the authority is the relevance of knowledge and experience in this industry. We must consider different aspects of the situation that is not directly relevant to regulation itself. The second point is patience for a long discussion. Since regulatory fair personnel must be in a liaison role for negotiation and communication between different stakeholders and authorities, being patient and having good communication skill are critical for success product registration. In terms of timeline, it's not only about getting approval in the shortest time frame. Strategy thinking and communication also come to play. For example, there's a product that can be identified as a class 2 or class 3 medical device, which means it lies in a gray area. In this case, we can leverage on our communication skill and strategy to propose and affect classification identification. This is because the approval timeline is different for class 2 and class 3 medical devices. Another example is when you have a product that is extremely like another predicate, but they are still different. The approval timeline is different for a brand new medical device or with a predicate because more data and the reports need to be provided for registration of a novel medical device. The strategic communication and timeline is intricately linked together, and the best approach is to keep the balance between these three elements. Now I would like to speak more about the communication with the stakeholders. Effective communication is crucial for external communication, such as authority and the testing lab. It might seem easy and smooth in checking internal progress, but for external progress, there are too many uncertainties at play. Any gaps in communication at any stage of the registration with stakeholder will cause a significant delay. For internal communication, it is necessary to leverage the resources and support from other departments and customers. It is best if every department is aligned with the same goal to ensure consistency. In a nutshell, having a third party to liaison between the registrant, authorities, supplier, and other stakeholders to aid communication is very important. Communication with authority to promote innovative research and development are also important. Currently, the competent authority, the Food and Drug Administration, have established useful two-way communication and multiple ways of communication pathway, such as conference, consultation on general technical issues, telephone consultation, fax, and email consultation. However, the mode of communication is depend on a case-by-case basis. The communication pathway must be chosen according to the current situation and the stage of research and development of product. Let's assume that we face a gap during the discussion with the competent authority. What we should do is to find a solution that is acceptable by both sides with scientific evidence and at the same time still compliant. Going back and forth with the reviewer via official letter will just take a long time and is inefficient. The best scenario is having a face-to-face discussion. Written communication can cause misunderstanding easily, and it can be avoided through phone discussion, virtual meeting, or face-to-face meeting. I personally suggest going with verbal communication than written communication. A typical regulatory consultation would be, for example, the registrant usually given a list of regulations to comply with no flexibility or space for discussion. However, one size doesn't fit all, so there are many ways to solve the problem. Always approach things with the concept or if we can find the way to move forward, even though the first option doesn't work for us. Smooth communication and understand each other are the key to success. Next, we will talk about the application procedure with the challenge. The biggest challenge for the application would be to understand law and regulations, prepare normative documents, have knowledge of the registered products, understanding of the test standard related to the product, have the capability of project management, and have good communication skills. For an understanding of laws and regulations, I would suggest referring to international standards such as the regulation adopted in the EU and the United States, and comparing them with domestic law and regulations to better understand the global standard and future trend. We should also understand the purpose and the relevance of regulations, application requirements, technical requirement, and principle of guidance. Of course, it's vital to be prepared and fully consider problems that may happen in research and development. Is to avoid repeated mistakes. Having meeting minutes is a step here, especially when you must handle countless documents and discussion. To ensure compliance, we need to review the requirement thoroughly, and the dossier should meet all requirements mentioned in the regulation before submission. If the document is not applicable, the rationale should be explained, regardless of whether it's a class 1, 2, or 3 medical device. The regulation details clear normative guidance for all required documents. After submitting all documents for registration, follow up with the reviewer proactively for the progress of the registration. It is important to find out the status of the application and the issue during the review process, if any. It would be great if we could reply the queries raised by the reviewer right away. The best situation is to have face-to-face communication with the reviewer and clarify the queries, or to provide the supplemental document immediately. In short, we need to understand the reviewer's request. So let's take a look about the case study 1. Here's to sharing some cases regarding regulatory strategy thinking. The background is that the client is registered a medical device license for their product. The medical device comprises a combination of multiple constituent parts. The medical device only works, which means the parts must be assembled. The regulatory strategy is to recognize the necessary components as the medical devices and to exclude the other components which are not necessary to be registered. Another option is to recognize the whole product as one medical device. Of course, the ultimate choice must consider the complexity and the import-export of the product and the scope of the GMP. The scenario of import and export matter and simulation should be conducted internally. Therefore, I suggest being prepared for every possible outcome and conducting a literature review to answer the query raised by TFDA smoothly. Lengthy communication with the authority for this case is expected. The reviewer of TFDA has a lot of opinions such as the recognition range. Fortunately, as I mentioned, the references has been collected and we had intensive communication with reviewer. In the end, TFDA finally agreed with our proposal. The tip is to have a clear understanding of the product of the application before submission. It is helpful for us to facilitate the follow-up communication with reviewers, thereby helping the client and the authority to reach a consensus. Time is go. While it is important to check in with the authority regularly. What we should do at the same time is to establish mutual trust between the applicant and the reviewers. We all know that smooth communication is the basis of trust with each other. And don't forget, the basis of communication is with science rationale, listening and being mindful of the reviewer's requests. Here's a case study too. Allow me to share one last case study that involved reorganization. We all know that the manufacturing process and the handling of the timeline of materials import-export can be very complex. So one solution is to shorten the period of license transfer to avoid shipment delay and reduce risks. The change of the company name will influence the license. Therefore, an efficient plan is needed for the change in license as well as close monitoring the status of avoid manufacturing and the supply chain issue. Here are a few scenarios. Scenario 1, the plan is to complete the license transfer from company A to the new entity, company B, and establish the new entity as a certified medical device importer in parallel. Hence, there's many milestones to achieve and gaps to close. The first step is to get approval and certify for the company division to the divided into company A and company B issued by the Ministry of Economic Affairs. Meanwhile, the property of company A will be transferred to company B. The second step is to apply for the name change of the company, as well as the name change of the company on the product license from company A to company B. The third step is to apply for the cancellation of the remaining license of company A and apply the license for company B according to the requirements of new office. The step 4 is to ensure the address for the production site is not changed, so company B is able to rent the same manufacturing facility as company A, and sign a plan lease contract. In our experience, if the site production remains the same, audits might not be conducted by authority. The scenario 2 is given if both company A and company B already existed. The license of company A needs to be transferred to company B. The first step is to apply for a corporate merger from the Ministry of Economic Affairs. It's to merge company A into company B. Company A will be dissolved and the assets will be transferred at the same time to company B. The second step is to apply for the name change of the company, as well as the name change of the company on the product license from company A to company B. The third step is to apply the cancellation for the remaining license of company A and apply for the license for company B according to the requirements of the new office. Step 4 is we assume the address of the product production has not been changed. So 10 steps as scenario 1 mentioned earlier. In addition, if you would like to keep company A, then it is possible to have a clean split after the above change are completed. For this case, TFDA is not familiar with the reorganization of a company, which fortunately is one of our strengths. We can simplify the complexity of the situation for the reviewer and try to manage the timeline efficiently. During the process, intensive internal coordination, communication, and close discussion with TFDA for applicable and beneficial proposal for both entities were achieved. Again, because time was spent creating a comprehensive plan and conducting risk assessment prior to the application, the actual transfer of license was shorter than estimated. One lesson from this case was our early participation in the reorganization and we were able to plan the project and prevent unexpected incidents. Now, let's briefly summarize what we have mentioned in topic 2. First of all, time matters. And if we have an appropriate strategy setting, can save the time, effort, and the cost. Communication, communication and negotiation skill is necessary, and others, please be active and focus on detail. We strongly encourage clients to come to us for an evaluation during the research and the development stage. This is to avoid any missing documents and time wasted if the submission is carried out without a proper evaluation and strategy. Incomplete document might occur and will take a long time to fulfill the requirement. The approval process will be delayed. The best strategy is to plan as early as possible and communicate with the competent authority. Now, below you can find our service on the regulatory, including the regulation consultation, the medical device product registration, the product pre-market assessment, the compliance audit, regulatory training, and medical device classification identification, and the packaging insert, the label review, or QSD, QMS application. So our strengths include the experience. We have a strong experience from industry and TFDA, and we have a comprehensive support with the CRO and law firm, and we have a wide knowledge, and we have a global support from the office located in worldwide.
So we do have a few questions from the audience. If you're ready to take those, Roland.
Yes.
All right. So with the implementation of UDIs, and they say in parentheses from 2021 to 2023, depending on which classification, is that requirement for the UDI device identifier or the UDI production identifier associated with the products?
Well, thank you for this question. Let me sketch some thoughts, and maybe we can follow up after this webinar, because I just heard the news that some of the exemption of the class 2 devices are allowed just for DI. So I have to make sure if TFDA have latest news about if those class 2 medical device can be labeled the DI only. So can we just follow up after this webinar?
Sounds like a plan. For those medical devices that require UDI labeling, if it has multiple UDI codes, is it necessary to register the product information for each code?
Thank you for this question. Yes, one license maybe include multiple models and specification. As we mentioned above, product identification enable us to connect the product information. The information includes the codes of its medical devices manufacturer, model, version, etc. This means there should be different codes for each of the models and specification. Therefore, the product information must be registered for each of the identification codes of medical devices before the product is launched.
Thank you, Roland. Do we need to delete original information registered if the UDI code of the product is changed?
Well, thank you for this question. The UDI code of the medical device that has been published previously is still on the market. Hence, we recommended keep the relevant information about the product. However, medical devices suppliers can make their own assessment and decide whether to remove the product information related to the previous version of the single identification code of medical device.
Thank you, Roland.
You're
Is Switzerland included under the Technical Cooperation Program TCP3? And will Switzerland's departure with the EU medical device that is going on right now, titled Swixit, if you will, have an impact on this inclusion?
Well, thank you for this question, Rex. Actually, Switzerland should be included in the TCP3, as far as I know. And as to Swisssit, I think it's just like Brexit. Maybe I'm not quite sure if the Swisssit is happen or not. But if we follow the history of Brexit, it may be excluded to the TCP3, probably.
Okay. Thank you. So a question for relative to contract manufacturing. If we act as a contract manufacturer and need to support a customer who acts as the legal manufacturer, does the TFDA have a mechanism in place for contract manufacturers to submit SOPs/procedures or other design manufacturing documentation directly?
Thank you for this question. As far as I know, TFDA didn't have a concept about the legal manufacturer and the contract manufacturer. So it's a little interesting, actually. Maybe we can follow this question after the webinar, actually, because I think it's more complex after the Medical Device Act implementation, because there are more and more gray area we need to identify, and we don't know the situation or the status of the TFDA. So we can communicate with the TFDA about this question and bring the answer for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Roland. And I think what products, in parentheses, risk class, qualify for the QSD abbreviated applications?
As we mentioned previously, now is for the class 2 and class 3 are for the QSD abbreviated application. As for class 1 is not included in the QSD.
Perfect, thank you. Can you tell us a bit more on the evaluation process of a medical device recall each year?
Thank you for this question. The purpose of evaluating the applicability of medical device recall is to ensure that medical device supplier understand their medical devices supply chain, and that if the suppliers face an actual recall, they have the capability to conduct the recalls. The authority evaluates the applicability of recall via like mock recall, where the medical device is not physically recalled. Instead, a simulated recall is conducted. Specific batches of medical devices are randomly selected, and their distribution and sales records are checked. the authority can trace and confirm the whereabouts, the quantity of the product by phone call, email, or fax, etc. The stock amount of medical device mentioned above must be consistent with the amount that was purchased, and the batch number should be consistent too. Therefore, relevant records should be kept. However, if the supplier has conducted the recall within a year, the market recall can be exempt in the same year.
Great. I think we have time for one more question. The company has indicated that they've obtained a medical device GMP certificate and want to know if they still need to apply for a GDP.
Well, thank you for this question. That depends on if your products are included in the 45 categories, as we mentioned in the slide. And if you want to know more about, we can check if you have the product type.
Perfect. Well, I think we are pretty much at the top of the hour. Any last questions from the group? Great. Well, I want to say thank you again to Roland Liu, our expert in this regulation in Taiwan. I think he gave us some great information, and we will follow up with some of those questions that needed additional support. So please look for those. Thank you very, very much, and we appreciate your attendance.
Thank you.